Hi, this is Chris. So in the first part of this series, I showed you how I took my mother's 12 by 18 album of her first artwork from her first art classes when I was a little kid. And she and her neighbor went to night school at the local high school and took art classes. So I trimmed up her larger images and I made them into this 8 by 8 album. And the reason I'm doing this is because I don't think the next generation is interested in inheriting some really large scrapbooks and photo albums. But something like this they could put on a bookshelf and they could share it with their children and their grandchildren. And I'm going to put a little history here about my mother. And they can share that, and then their children and their grandchildren and their great-grandchildren can see who came before them. And if any of them become artists, as I became an artist, then they'll see where it came from. So I've run out of things to put in here so far. I know there are some other images, but I just have to go through the house and find them. But we've got quite a few pages here, just from that first album. And then there's several pages left that I can find some of her later artwork and put that in there too. So I got that off of Amazon, and I want to show some other books I got. This is another one. It's advertised as an 8 by 8, but it's actually, the cover is actually about 9 by 10. But the pages have an 8 by 8 image area. It came with a metallic pen and some colorful photo corners. And some pages that look like they fell out. So this has a loose leaf binding, which I really like because I like being able to move my pages around if I get them out of the order that I want. Here's another kind of album I got at Amazon. How does it open here? So this also has 8 by 8 pages, and these pages have sleeves. They're just like the 12 by 12s. They have a card that you can put your images on and then a plastic sleeve to put them in, and then you can open it up and move the pages around. And I'm going to put some of my own trip albums in here, I think. In fact, I've already started with this album. So this was when I went to Scotland. And what I did with my 12 by 12 album is I took pictures on my phone of each page of the 12 by 12 album. And then I took it apart and I decided what was on that page that I wanted the most and could I trim it and crop it. And that's what I did. And so each page is pretty much like it was in the 12 by 12, but I've edited out pictures that weren't my favorites, even though after the trip when I made the album, I did a heavy editing because I do like to take a lot of pictures. So this was my trip to Scotland, and I was able to put in some of the ephemera. I was able to fit a lot of pictures in if I trimmed them. So if you've made 12 by 12 albums, you know about editing and cropping and trimming and laying out pages and all that. So I'm not quite finished with this album. I still have a few pages, whoops, a few pages left to work on. And I like this one because I can just slide the pages out and work on them like you would a 12 by 12 album. And in the front there's a pocket, and that's where you can put in an image. So I put in the image of my first page of my Scotland album. So I'll put these aside right now, and I will get out the 50th anniversary album and show you how I would process that. This is the 50th anniversary album, and it's quite heavy, it's quite big, And I don't think the next generation would appreciate inheriting it. So there's memorabilia in here, ephemera, and lots of cards and letters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick out cards and pictures of relatives. So that's going to be a bit of a job, but there's a lot of memories, so I'll pick out letters from, I'll read the letters and I'll see if they tell something, a little story about my parents. And if I think that that is going to be interesting to the next generation, then I will save that. And so I'm going to use my own ideas of what I like to learn about the people who came before me to choose what's going to be in this book. So I'm going to go ahead and choose out a few pieces that I can put right on the first few pages, and we can do that together, and then I'll do the rest of it on my own. This is a story of their balloon ride over the valley that my mother wrote, so I'll have to figure out a way to reduce that. And this is some commemorative stamps. So I will come back and I will show you my start. Okay, here's about the balloon ride, and my brother purchased a ride for my parents on one of these balloons. So here's where the balloon's being laid out, and they unroll it all, take it out of the bag and unroll it, and then the basket and the burner are laying on their sides blowing hot air into the balloon. Here's the shadow of the balloon as it's rising up off the ground. This is out in an old hayfield. And then here's one of the other balloons. So I think this could have been the balloon that my parents were in. I don't know, because my mother and I both took pictures and I don't remember. It's been so long now, I don't remember who took the pictures. But anyways, so that's the balloon that the photographer, one of us, is in, and that's the balloon that the other of us is in. And here's another picture as the balloon came down and went along the river. And then here's our valley. It was the end of November and it was heavy overcast, so we couldn't really see the mountains. The mountains were shrouded in here. And then this is looking down at one of the cattle farms, cattle ranches in our valley, and more of the agriculture. This is pretty, the sunlight coming through the clouds and reflecting on the river. And here are my parents in the balloon as they're landing. And here's a picture. Something happened to the camera, leaked some light, but the main part of it is good. And my dad's dressed up in his down jacket. My mom's in her flannel jacket. And here's some of the other balloons. And then here's all the people who took balloon rides that day inside one of the balloons. So I definitely want to put those pictures in there because that was my mother's favorite thing, was to chronicle family life with photos. So those will go in there. So I'll come back when I get that done, and then maybe I'll have decided what to do about the greeting cards. Okay, I've been working on this for a while. I decided to divide it into sections, and so the first section is my parents and their balloon ride. I will be putting little captions or little stories down in the blank spaces. And these are cards they sent to each other. These are their grandchildren. And close relatives, brothers, sisters, nieces, nephews. And then the next section is cousins. So I have some temporary dividers on here so I can find where I am. I don't know if I'll put dividers. Here's a list my mother made of all the cards that she received for her anniversary. Now, this whole thing is my fault, really, because I sent out letters to everybody and told them that the anniversary is coming up and they might like to send a card or a letter or a memory, and, well, they did. So I don't think I will be putting in any more cards, but I will put in letters that have memories of something that they remember, a visit or something from the past. But I won't be putting in a lot of the photos. Let me pick out a few photos. Someone even sent some handkerchiefs. One each. A man's handkerchief and a woman's handkerchief, and my mom saved them. Now I need to go through the letters and read them and see if they're worth saving, if there's something in there that future generations would be interested in about how people lived in their grandparents' and great-grandparents' time. So again, I will do that off camera, and then I will come back and show you what I have come up with. Okay, it's been several hours. It's a chunky book. I'll have to think of some kind of strap to make for it or something. But I think it's doing good. So the first part, as I said before, is my parents' anniversary and their balloon ride. And then I have these tabs on there just as I'm working on it so that I can sort of sort things out. So then we have family, close families, brother, sister, niece, and nephews. And then cousins that are a little bit more distant, but still good friends with lots of good memories. And then the next section is my mom's high school friends. She kept in touch with a lot of her high school friends through the years. And one of them sent some old pictures. There's my mom there. And there's my mom there. So these are all friends from high school. She went to college, but I don't think she made as good friends as she did in high school. I have a blank page in case I find something else that can go there. And then these are all friends from the neighborhood that my parents bought their first house in. So this was my mother's best friend. And her family, there were 5 children. My family, there were 2 children. My brother and I just sort of slotted in with all their children, age-wise. And we still are friends with those kids. All right. And here's another neighbor. And these are friends from the church. So I just tried to group them all. But every one of them has a memory that I think is interesting. I did save this one card. I decided not to save all the cards, just a few of the cards at the front I saved. But I decided to save this card because it's about, it's specialized because it was for people who were celebrating 50 years of marriage and who got married during the war. And so it has a little bit about that in it. And then we go on to another section. Let's see. Oh, this is just a little card. I didn't know how to do this because she wrote on all sides. So I just made a little slot for that, a little pocket. And a lot of them I made, you have to lift them up to see everything. And this section is cards and greetings from friends and family from overseas. So this is from my father's cousin in Denmark. And this is from my father's other cousin in Denmark. And this is from my mom's cousin in England. And this one is from some good friends that used to live in our neighborhood. They were from Netherlands, and he was working in California for a few years with, I don't know, one of the industrial companies. And then they returned to Netherlands, but my parents kept correspondence with them. And this is from a cousin in England. Two different cousins in England. And then these are from some, I have some notes in here that I'm going to write. These are some foreign exchange girls that stayed with one of my relatives, and they visited us, and they sent my parents a happy anniversary message. So I thought that was cute. So they're in Holland, Netherlands. And then these are some friends of the family in India. And then this is from a friend of the family. He's from Taiwan. So I still have some work to do on it, but I just wanted to show you that it's nearly completely done, and this is probably the last video for this particular book. My brother's coming to visit in a couple months, and I'm going to show this to him, see what he thinks of it. There's some old pictures of him in here when he was like 16 years old, so he'll get a kick out of that. Okay, so I've gone from this, which doesn't even fit in the frame of my camera lens, to this. Something more manageable. So thanks for watching, and have a great day crafting. Bye-bye.